Hi, welcome to Disruptive Conversations. And we're going to just be waiting for Rachel Luna to come on. So excited to have her today. You also may know her as Girl Confident and as an author. So we're waiting for people to join. Thanks for coming on. Shulis Lemaine, an official Visha. Hey, Carly. Hi, everyone. If you want to let us know where you're joining from. And there she is. She's coming on. She's waved, and I'm waiting for Rachel to, she's requested. Okay, and I'm going to, here we go. So excited on in just a moment. And when we do start, we're going to have a huge conversation today. We're going to have a huge conversation. So first, what I'm going to do now that this extraordinary woman, mama, entrepreneur, the whole works is on, I'm going to introduce the show, introduce Rachel, and here we go. We are ready to roll because we got a lot to talk about today, and we are going there. So welcome to Disruptive Conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, influencers, educators, authors, in which we deep dive into the experiences these women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to create and achieve their personal and professional success. I'm Dr. RISA RYGER, clinical psychologist, and I am an expert in change. I help people make positive change at any point. Now, you can't have positive change without disruption. You need to disrupt a thought, a feeling, a belief, a habit, an action in order to create your 10.0 life. And that's what this series of conversations is all about. So now with reading, because Rachel is got an amazing resume and amazing bio, which doesn't really adequately reflect her life, but we're going to make do with what we have. So I'm going to take a look and read this for you. So Rachel Luna is the author of Permission to Offend. She's a highly sought after international speaker and a certified master neuroscience coach. And she has been named one of Forbes' 11 most inspiring female entrepreneurs to follow on Instagram. She also is a former U.S. Marine. So Rachel is no pushover. Even though she's 4'11", don't get mistaken, she is no pushover. And she has been helping her clients double, triple, and quadruple their income. She calls herself a magnet for miracles. Lost both of her parents to AIDS. She struggled with eating disorders. She's had her own challenges all through her life. And here is in life that positive change can happen at any point. And so she also, if that wasn't enough, because you know what, we do not have a quota on the challenges that life brings us. And so if that wasn't enough, to begin with, Rachel also was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer in the summer of 2019. And she tackled it the same way that she tackles everything, which is full on. And within 30 days, she was cancer-free. And thankfully, today, she continues to thrive, teach, and activate. She has her top-rated podcast, Permission to Offend, which is on hiatus for the moment. We'll get into that also. And she is a firecracker. I can attest to that. We've met in person. And, and that's one of the reasons why we're here together. We got together, we met, and the energy you could see, unless you had really good shades on, you could see the sparks flying. And so she's been invited to share her talks everywhere. And here we are, and we're going to be in conversation. You and me, Rachel.
Here we are, Dr. Risa. I am so excited. I agree with you emphatically. There were sparks. I love you, everything that you stand for. And I am excited about our conversation about disruption and offense and change. So let's do it.
Here we are. So first of all, Rachel, you have a great bio, and the bio can only be great because it really reflects your life and what you've done. and what challenges you've met. But what is it that I didn't read that you would like us to know?
Oh, no, I feel like we got it. I mean, I wrote this incredible book, Permission to Offend. I feel like that might have been the only thing we didn't really talk about. That feels comprehensive to me, you know, especially the part of me being a magnet for miracles. Yes, permission to offend. I'm an open book. And so when I think about all the things, like the best is yet to come. Like, I mean, my greatest challenge and my greatest victory is still yet to come.
Fantastic. I love that. So, Rachel, let's start here. So, what is it that you had needed to disrupt inside yourself in order to achieve where you are today? And as you say, not your last achievement, but we're taking this snapshot.
The whole of it. I've had to disrupt my thoughts. I've had to disrupt old patterns of belief. I've had to disrupt value systems and ideas that have been imposed upon me by parents, teachers, caregivers, and other people of influence. And I've really had to disrupt the narrative in my own mind. I always say, you know, so many people are prisoners in their own mind, and I'm here to help set you free.
That's amazing. So, you know, I was really thinking about this, and we had, first of all, for anyone who is ever hesitant about networking, another word for networking, and maybe the word throws people off, Rachel, but another word for networking is meeting new people. Yeah. That's what networking is about, in meeting new people. And when we met, first of all, it was at an event. I want to thank Erica Mara and Jessica Stewart in the MRG Media for putting us together. And Erica, you took me by the hand and you said, you're meeting Rachel, and brought me over so that we could have this extraordinary conversation. So for those of you, so this is the first takeaway, you know, from today that's official, yeah, which is that if you're hesitating meeting new people, you know, take a deep look inside, get a better understanding of what your hesitation is, and start doing it on small scale. Because if not, I wouldn't have met Rachel, Rachel wouldn't have met me, and we wouldn't be here today just feeling so supportive and cheering each other on and wanting to know more and give to our communities. Yeah. So,
Dr. RISA, I would also say, because I don't like the word networking either. I'm always like, oh God, a networking event. No. But the reason why those networking events feel so gross is because it's very transactional, right? People say, what do you do? Okay, exchange cards, and they're on to the next. And it's almost been this like collection of business cards. And for me, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as connection. So I'm going to events, I'm showing my face in person to find who I'm connecting with. And I'm not looking for a volume of connections. I'm looking for one or two deep, meaningful connections. And I'm so grateful that you and I got to have that. Remember, where you and I met, there were about 350 people in that room. Oh. And you and I had the opportunity to have this like very awesome, small, intimate conversation. That to me was priceless, that connection, not the network. So just a little reframe there.
Love that. Absolutely. And by the way, to your point, one of our conversations, because we had connected elsewhere and then got a chance to meet, was that you were having mold remediation. I had mold remediation. So we didn't go in going, well, what do you do? What do you do? You know, and getting to that you can connect with anything, and you feel it. Don't you think so, Rachel? You feel that happens?
Yes, 100. And you can feel the intention behind a connection, you know, a meeting with someone. Yeah. There are people where, you know, they're having a conversation with you because they want to know what they can get from you, versus having a conversation like, how can we show up for each other? What value can I add? And to be honest, you know, Dr. RISA, I was thinking about this as well in terms of our relationship. I was like, man, I got to figure out how I can really show up for Dr. RISA, because you've shown up for me in such incredible ways. And it's almost like I want to reciprocate, and I want to make sure that there's a value exchange that's equitable. And if you're not going into these relationships with that attitude, you're not going to have those relationships for very long, right? They're going to be one and done.
Exactly. And one and done isn't the deal unless you really realize that it should be one and done, which is an important decision to make. But it's so funny, Rachel, because I also felt, and I guess this is why we're here, that I also want to show up for you and you've written this book, you've done so much, and you bring you wherever you go. I mean, that's one of the important pieces, that you bring yourself wherever you go. And, we get a feel about someone. So we could get into this for a long time, but I want to go and make sure that we talk about offend, because I was really thinking about offend and how, particularly, I think for women, like, you shouldn't offend, don't offend anyone. I think that offended someone. And so the question of, like, how do you go through the world? How do you go through life? Or would you ever want to? But there's so much, like, gendered messaging about that, about not offending. But my question to you, and we can like build this out or in however you want, is, and I think this is so, that it's possible to offend without being offensive.
Yes. Well, first of all, we have to recognize that our existence is offensive to someone on the planet. And I give the example of my stepmother. She hated me. Sorry, my daughter just walked home, and my doggy is now gonna greet her, so you might hear background noise. But anyway, so my biological mother passed away when I was 3.5. She had AIDS. My dad also had AIDS, but he ended up living for, at least another decade longer, and he remarried. And that woman hated me, Dr. RISA. And the reason that she hated me is because I looked just like my biological mother. And I was a reminder of who she would never be, right? The love of my dad's life. So I never did anything to this woman. My existence was offensive to her. Your dream is going to be offensive to someone else, right? I gave this example yesterday. My husband, when I first started doing what I do for a living, he did not get it at all. And I remember him saying, I don't believe in what you do. You, Tony Robbins, you're all scam artists. Why do people need coaches? Why can't they just, motivate themselves? And he didn't understand. And a couple years passed, and I said, why do you hate what I do so much? Like, why does it bother you? I love what I do. People's lives are being changed. I don't understand. And he said, I could never do what you do. And I don't understand. How is it that you get up on stage and you talk to all these people and you go on social media in front of tens of thousands of people, and the world is so cruel, and I don't want anyone talking bad about my baby.
Oh,
and yeah. So he was offended by the comments of other people, but comments that hadn't even come in, right? He was offended by the perception, by his ideas and beliefs of other people. So yes, you can do absolutely nothing and still be offensive. And then, to the point, I believe that you can be offensive standing in your truth without offending other people. And what that looks like in my life, or at least this is what I aspire to portray in my life, is I'm a Christian, right? I'm a God girl through and through. I call myself a magnet for miracles. I was healed from breast cancer in 30 days. I deeply believe that a large part of my healing was my faith. Did I do other things? Do I drink a ton of cold pressed juice? Yes. Do I do all? Yes. But I am also not mad if anybody wants to believe whatever they want to believe, right? So that is where I can stand in my truth, and it could be perceived as offensive if I were being offensive, if I were saying my way is the only way and all of you are wrong and shame on you. Like, that is offensive, and it is out of alignment with who I choose to be. So that's kind of the distinction that we want to make. When we give ourselves permission to offend, it's not about hurting other people. It's about giving yourself permission to be yourself, to own your truth, whatever that truth is, and to hold space for the beliefs and truths of other people, right? So if I am seeking to understand you and you are seeking to understand me, then we're going to create more community and connection. But if I am fighting to be understood and you are fighting to be understood, there's going to be very little room for us to connect and create change.
Yes. And that brings up, how do you have, the idea that, and this is, I'm going to take this as a moment to bring authentic curiosity about another person, because you don't know who you're meeting with. You don't know who you're seeing, right? You don't know who they are.
Right.
And you may have one idea about it, but that may not be. So if you can go in with the idea of, like, you're petite, right? You're petite. I'm a petite woman. And there may be, like, on first glance of thinking, they're this, that, and the other thing, because there are all sorts of attributes and ideas and stories that people tell about that, right? And so when you get curious and you want to really know what that is, who that is, if you see someone and you see that they're dressed shabbily, for example, you can start telling yourself all kinds of stories about that. And you may not know. And perhaps, it's important that you really rethink this, that person may be the owner of the company that you wish you could get access to. But that's not the reason. It's that you should find your authentic curiosity. That's where authentic connection comes in.
Yes, I agree with you. I don't think there was a question there. So I'm just going to say 100%. And like, I guess a question that we could extrapolate is, like, how do you get curious about someone that you don't know?
Okay, go for it.
I would say, like, start caring about people. That's what it is. It's like, people don't care anymore. We're so wrapped up in the us.com show, right? So, like, it's the Rachel Luna show. So I only care about selling this book. This is not true for me, by the way, but an example. I only care about selling permission to offend. Anything that I'm doing is just about this. I can't be bothered. I'm not interested. The only thing I want to talk about is this book. Well, that serves little to no one, even though the book is fantastic. And when people read it, their lives will be transformed. That actually doesn't create community. And if we want to create positive change in the world, we need to have more community and more connection. So the first question you can ask is, what is it that I need to know about this person to see how I can be of service? That immediately, right? So I was thinking, and I was thinking about this today, again, about you, Dr. RISA. I was thinking, like, I've got to learn more about Dr. RISA's programs and, like, this next version of, I know you have your practice, but, like, coming online. And what is it that she really wants to do online? And who does she really want to reach? And how can I connect her either with my audience or with someone else that I know that could help her? So that means I've got to start asking you some more questions. Like, I want to know who's the ideal person. I want to know what's motivating you. So now I could literally ask you 10 questions right now. And you know what else I was thinking about this too, is, man, I want to know what your childhood was like, that you would be so interested in change. And how did you become an expert in change? Like, was there something that you were so unhappy with, or did you experience something in your life with someone that you wish they would change? Like, right away, I can get into all these different questions because I'm just genuinely curious on how can I add value to you? And if you approach it that way, you're going to have questions for days.
Exactly. As I feel with you. So let me ask you this, because there are so many questions that I can ask you, but what is it what is the question that you wish I would ask you right now?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm being put on the spot right now. What is the question I wish that you would ask me?
We could talk about a million things, but you have burning agendas, internal agendas, burning communication. There are things that you're just so passionate and committed to.
Yeah.
So what would be that question? Or is that the question?
Yeah, that's a question. You know what's so interesting is that because of where I am right now, where I am just really interested in what other people need, because I feel so fulfilled right now. I feel so full that it's like, I'm good. What is it that the world is trying? What is it that the people around me need? Like, I just see Jen Gottlieb just run. Hi, Jen. Jen, I think, has a book. It's either out or coming out. So my mind, the question I'm thinking is like, well, what could I do for her? So that's where I'm interested in having these conversations. It says, how do we create more connection with each other in a way that's not exhausting?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Right?
yes.
The social media right now, if you ask me what I'm passionate about, I am passionate about removing the masks and the filters of social media, removing the expectations of having to post. And you and I were chatting on text earlier today,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm disrupting. I have decided I'm going to be a disruptor in how I do social media. I'm not in DMs anymore, and I'm so happy about that. There are some gaps, right? So now, like, someone else has to be in there for me, and we have to create some parameters, and there's some
Yeah.
logistical things that need to happen. But like, I'm not in social media anymore. I'm not in my DMs. I'm not going to be a slave to the algorithm anymore. I'm going to post when I want to post, what I want to post. And if it hits, it hits. And if it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. And I just don't care anymore because my mental health has been in such a decline. And I know that I'm not the only one, Dr. Risa, because I've posted consistently for the last couple of weeks. This one post that I did recently where I said the new rules of social media, where I talk about how many entrepreneurs are quitting, literally quitting their businesses because they're so burnt out. They're not burnt out, they're thought out. They've had so many competing thoughts, conflicting thoughts, limiting beliefs, stories running through their mind about how they have to show up and who they have to be, that they're literally running away. I am not going to run away from my calling just because I'm pissed off that the algorithm isn't working for me. I'm just not going to play by the algorithm anymore.
You know, there's so much to be said, and I really salute you that when we talk about self-care and self-love, right? We talk about self-care, we talk about self-love, we talk about, self-esteem, and there was something else, and I wanted to also mention, because here we are together, June 1,
Yes.
right? May was Mental Health Month, but we know, and this is so important, that every month is Mental Health Month. So how did you decide every month is mental health? Like, really? Now I'm not? So, Rachel, how did you make this front and center for you? Not just the mental health, but the self-care, the self-trust, the self-love, and the self-worth, giving value to and investing in yourself.
Okay, so the first part is I don't believe that I consciously thought to myself, oh, I've got to value myself more, because I already have a pretty good self-esteem. I think I have a pretty good self-esteem. I do value myself. I believe in self-care. I have a housekeeper. When I need days off, I take days off. If I don't feel like cooking, I am privileged enough to order out food. However, that being said, I also add so much value to the world. I also serve at such a high level, and it's my level of service to humanity that is affording me the lifestyle that I have. Now, I already know there's someone saying, well, what about the person who's working 80 hours a week? They're adding value and they don't make that much money. I can't speak for that person. I don't know what stories that person is telling themselves. I don't know how they're managing their money. I can only speak for myself. And that, I think, is the key, Dr. Risa, is that I stopped trying to make myself be right and righteous across the board. I'm wrong. I'm available to be wrong in everything. I'm available for people to tell me that my entire lifestyle is wrong, and I will take it under advisement. I will take it into consideration. I will say, okay, tell me why. What am I doing that's so wrong? What would you do differently? How could I be better? How could my lifestyle be a better fit for society as a whole? Because I am not interested in being right. I'm interested in living freely.
Mm-hmm.
That right there, when you make the conscious decision that you are going to live freely and that you are available to be wrong, the whole game changes. That's where the mental health comes in. That's where the self-care and the self-worth. Do you love yourself enough to correct yourself, or to stand by your convictions that how you're living is correct according to your standards and your terms and your truth and beliefs and values?
Absolutely. I mean, you're so eloquent and so heartfelt in what you say, and stand in your truth. And it's so important. And I just want to highlight this, I'm going like this because I had a highlighter in my hand, that you can only stand in your truth. You can't stand in somebody else's truth. And there's an and here. The and is being open to hearing, being open to hearing from someone who's coming with the idea of being helpful versus coming with the idea of hurting you, right? But it's because when I get, criticism is another weird word. I happen to welcome it from people who are coming with with ideas and wanting to share. I think of it as like one of the greatest gifts, that someone has cared enough to really think something through and said, hey, have you thought about it this way? And it doesn't have to be all pretty and polished up the way it's supposed to be,
Right. Yeah.
But I guess, even for people who are coming at you differently, there may be something to learn as well. And what I'm hearing from you is that you stand in your shoes, right? Whether they be running shoes, flat, kitten heels, or stilettos, that you stand in your shoes and you're ready.
Yeah, and I talk about that in chapter 2 of Permission to Offend. It's standing in your identity and knowing who you are. And I am not talking about the roles and responsibilities. So typically when we meet someone at a networking event, it's like, oh, tell me about yourself. And so typically one might say like, well, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a coach, whatever your role is, whatever your responsibility is. And that's not who you are. Those are just titles. I'm interested in knowing when all of the roles, responsibilities, and titles are stripped away, what is left? The only thing you have is what you value and what you believe. That's it. Everything else can go. I'm a mother. And even as a mom, I am acutely aware the older they get, they're only 12 and 14 right now, but I know that my utility as a mother has an expiration date, because at some point, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, and then I'll just speak into that. Go ahead.
At some point, these girls are going to leave the nest and they're going to have their own lives. Will they still need me? Sure, from time to time, but not every day like they need me now. And if I am not rooted in my identity as a woman, not even as a woman, because we live in an age where even that is coming into question, right? Like, what is a woman? But when my identity comes into question, what do I believe and what do I value? That will be all I have left. And if you are not rooted in that, you're going to struggle when the children leave, when the business closes, when the marriage and or when your partner passes away, or whatever the life situation is. So I am very rooted in what I believe, what I stand for, and what I value. And I talk about this in the book as well. I also spend a little bit of time every week or every other week. I try to do it every week though, just to stay convicted, just to stay unfiltered and unafraid. I spend time questioning my beliefs. Why do I believe what I believe? I'm going to say something, and I know it's unpopular, but I am willing to disrupt and have unpopular conversations. I am questioning every week for weeks. It's I mean, I'm going to be very real with you right now. Like, this is the most vulnerable that I've been publicly. I have been struggling to answer the question, what is a woman? And am I a woman? What makes me a woman? Like, that question has taken up so much real estate in my mind. And I think I have a belief because that was what I was taught. But is that belief true? I don't know. And this is why I say it's so important to give yourself the time and space, so that when someone comes at me, especially because remember, Dr. Risa, I'm a Christian. So when a Christian comes at me or an atheist comes at me and they're both asking me the exact same question, and I know that however I answer, one of those people is not going to be happy, right?
Or
Somebody's going to, or they're both going to be offended.
yes.
At the end of the day, in order for us to live freely, the only person who has to be satisfied with that answer is you.
And Rachel, what you're talking about, first of all, thank you so much for this vulnerability and sharing it here with me. I'm really honored. We create a space of safety. I feel safe with you, and I'm so touched and honored that you feel safe here with me, because this is what it's about, and this is why we need this kind of a forum, to have safety, to be able to speak our truths. That to question yourself is the greatest show of courage. There's questioning yourself, and even if you think you have it one and done, or whatever that is, think you have it done, that you give yourself the grace of growth.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. The grace, honey. Yes.
Well, this is what inspiration is. This is one of the reasons why we're here, is that we need the grace of growth, and we are going to need, and in that we're going to need to start to wrap up for today. I would love another hour with you, and we're going to make that happen in one way or another.
Yes, my favorite next.
Yeah. Well, we have many more stories to tell, and so I know that you've had a disruption recently. You've been very clear about it, but I just want to ask you also, what's your next disruption, or you're just like riding the wave of that disruption right now?
My next disruption in terms of, wait, what was the one that I just had? What's the one
that's a disruption? Is there that's a huge disruption.
Oh,
is that
question
yeah.
myself?
Yeah.
I think that my next disruption is probably giving myself the grace of growth in this transition that I'm in with my business. I've just closed down one of my offers, which was, hundreds of thousands of dollars of my revenue every year. I just cut it off. And that takes so much faith and so much courage. And there's a lot of uncertainty in that. And so my disruption personally is, do I have the vision and the courage and the faith and the conviction to execute the next part, that pivot?
Yeah.
And it's exciting and nerve-wracking and scary, and I'm just ready for all of it.
I love that. And Rachel, I'm going to just pull out something for our communities to take away, which is that with disruption, there isn't certainty. You don't know 100%. you're taking on the challenge, you're taking on the risk. And that can be your space of growth. And here we are. There isn't a neat wrap up here. The bow,
No.
the bow is that when you meet someone and you start to have trust and you start a trusting relationship and you feel like you're in each other's corners, that there are things that you can talk about and ideas that you can have that you couldn't count on. And it brings that growth if you have the space, because you talk about holding space, into your life. So I'm going to thank you. Stay on so that we can take a moment and take our, so we can have some moments of that. So just hang on for 1 sec. So I want to thank everyone. You must let people know that you saw this. Let people know that you heard this. Tell them to come on to hear us. If you haven't followed me, please do so. And I'm dropping information in the ways that I feel is right for me. Thank you for that. And to learn, to support, and to help, to be of service. That's what we're all about here. And if you don't have Rachel's book yet, if you want to start out with a book that starts out straight out honest, you want to open like page 1 and be at page honest, you don't have to get halfway in the book. It starts out that way, and I can tell you that. So follow me, follow Girl Confident, and can't wait to see you next time. And remember that positive change can happen at any point. Okay, Rachel, you ready for your glam shot?
For my close-up.
Okay. Let's take one more. Talk to you later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks for coming.